Также хочу сказать, что сегодня у нас конференция и выступление спикеров, а завтра у нас будет представлено больше компаний, чем сегодня. В этом же зале будет выставка, и у вас есть возможность заранее назначить встречи с участниками на завтра. Каждый из вас получил логин и пароль на почту и имеет возможность назначать встречи онлайн. Если вы не получили логин или пароль, или если у вас есть какие-то сложности, пожалуйста, обратитесь к нашим коллегам на регистрацию, мы будем рады вам помочь. Если же встреча не назначена заранее, это значит, что вы можете просто посетить выставку и познакомиться с участниками непосредственно на месте. Еще раз благодарю вас за то, что присоединились к нам, и рада начать нашу программу. Передаю слово Вадиму. Он будет сегодня ведущим нашей конференции и представит нашего следующего спикера.
Уважаемые дамы и господа, итак, я рад приветствовать первого нашего спикера с темой программы визы инвесторов в США Джорджа Акста из компании Акст и Мальта.
Good morning. My name is George Axt. I'm an immigration attorney in New York City, and we're here for these next few moments to speak about investing into the United States and how you can get a visa as a result of that. Thank you. That's me. If you want to come to the United States, it depends on which country you're from as to the type of visa that will work best for you. We can start large and then work small. Large is the EB-5 visa. That's the visa that can be obtained from any country in the world if you are putting enough money in and you wish to come to the United States permanently. When you come to the United States permanently, you want to get what is sometimes called a green card. That's just a phrase. It's actually a permanent resident visa, which allows you to remain in the United States for as long as you want, to come and go from the United States as frequently as you please, and to work or not work as you may see fit. However, in order to qualify, there are a number of ways to get a green card. We're speaking today specifically about the EB-5 program, which allows for an investment of a considerable amount of money into a program. So there are two dollar numbers that are involved. The larger number is $1 million US, which is if you are going to create your own enterprise and create at least 10 jobs anywhere in the United States. That is not as popular as most people think. Very few, less than 10% of all the EB-5 visas come through that method. This one? The EB-5 program. The vast majority of EB-5s come through what is called investments into a regional center. And I have a colleague here who will be speaking about that right after me, about the various, about specific regional centers. But a regional center is generally a limited partnership in which you simply write a check for $500,000 and some additional fees. And you become a partner in this, but you have no control over how the project will be run. The idea is if you create 10 jobs from each individual investor in this project, you are doing something for America by creating jobs, and therefore you're entitled to get a green card because you're helping America become that much more wealthy and prosperous. So, if you qualify for this, you not only get the green card, but your spouse gets the green card, and any children you may have who are under 21 and not married. The issue of the $500,000, which is what you have to put into the regional partnership, is something that has been a subject of fierce debate in the United States Congress over the last couple of years. That number, that amount, was established in 1990, when $500,000 was a lot of money. It's still a lot of money, but not as much as it was in 1990. And so there has been a lot of pressure in Congress to raise this number. And in fact, they may be raising the number as soon as this September. It may come sooner, It may be delayed. They've delayed it already for a couple of years because it's all subject to political infighting. However, at some point it will be changed, and then the number will go up probably well over $1 million for the regional centers. The individual investment will go up a lot more or maybe eliminated entirely. No one particularly knows. Once you put the money in, it must be at risk. That is, it must be into something where you have a chance of losing it. And it must be in an active investment. You cannot just take $500,000 and buy an apartment or buy treasury bills, a type of a bond or investment. That's not at risk. It has to be something that is truly active and where your money may have the chance of being lost. And that's why when you go into these projects, you have to be very careful which ones you choose. You have to go into ones that have a reliable track record. As I'm sure the people after me will tell you, you have to be very careful which projects you may choose. Once you've invested the money, you usually have to keep it tied up for at least 5 years, although it's subject to every individual agreement as to how long, what project, how long it's going to be in. Usually they're real estate projects, but not always. And if you were to apply today, it would take about 18 months until you would have the green card. And then once you have the green card, it's good for 2 years. And during that 2 years, we have to show that the project that you invested in actually became financially successful, actually did what it promised to do, and then you have to apply for a permanent green card. So it's really a two-step process. It's something that our office takes care of. We help you through it, and we work very closely with the regional centers to make sure we get the type of information that we need. Go back. So that's basically the green card. We can go into more details if you want. You can find me afterwards. I'll be around and I'll be happy to speak with you if you have individual questions about it. But remember that you can be from any country in the world in order to invest. It's just a question of the money going into the right kind of project. But let's assume that you are already with a company here in Ukraine, in any country in the world. Again, this is specifically for every nationality. If you either own a company, let's say here in Kiev, or you're an employee of a company and you wish to open a company in the United States, create a branch operation. The U.S. has a visa for that. It's called an L1 visa. And the L1 visa is for either executives or managers or for people who have really specialized knowledge, proprietary information about the company's workings. Someone who might know the secret ingredients of the McDonald's hamburger and has to come back to the United States to help create the new formula for it. That kind of specialized knowledge can also get you in. So if you have been working for, let's say, the Kiev headquarters of the company for at least 1 year as a manager or an executive or with specialized knowledge, and the company, and you create a company in the United States which is controlled or majority owned by the headquarters company, it's essentially a branch, then you meet the primary qualifications for that kind of visa, which is the L1. The beauty of the L1 visa is that if the company has been in existence and operating for at least a year in the United States, it can be converted into a green card. And it's a faster process than the EB-5. So it's another option, but it's not immediate. You have to have a company here in the U.S. and you have to show this connection, this multinational company. There are times when it may be a United States company that has opened a branch. We can reverse it. In Kiev, London, Moscow, it doesn't matter, and you've been employed there for at least a year, and they want to bring you back to the headquarters. It works just as well, that way. And you can come in again, and they can bring you in first on the L1, as well as your spouse comes in on what's called an L2, and the beauty of that is the spouse can get work permission as well. So he or she does not have to sit home driving you crazy all day long. Instead, they can go out and work if they choose to, go to school, whatever they might want to do. And of course, your children come in as well, as long as they're under 21 and not married. One of the nice things about the L1 is there is no minimum amount of money that's necessary in order to create the U.S. corporation. There is a lot of misconception, especially I see that amongst my civil law countries, clients, who believe that you have to put in some kind of minimum amount of money to open up the U.S. operation. That's not true. You could open in New York, for example, you could open a New York corporation for $1. That may not be enough to convince the U.S. Immigration Service that you're serious about your operation, but you can create the company for very little money. But then you have to put in a reasonable amount of money to show that you can pay the rent, pay for pens, paper clips, the computer, a desk, whatever else might be necessary to get the place up and running. And, of course, you'd have to show that you have enough money for a few months of operations while you start developing business. So how much money would be needed for that is a question that depends on the nature of the company that you might be opening. The last visa that we wanted to speak about because in the investment categories is called the E2 visa. Now, the E2, unlike the EB5 or the L1, is specific to individual countries. The United States has a treaty with about 35 countries around the world to encourage investment between the two countries. And in order to do that, they say, if you want to create a company into the U.S., we will give you a visa to allow you to come in and to do that. Now, every country has different arrangements based on the treaty with, in terms of a lot of details to it. But the Ukraine has the treaty. The one limitation on the Ukraine treaty is that when you get that visa, it's only good for 3 months. However, when you arrive in the U.S., you're permitted to stay for 2 years. So it does give you a lot of time to start your company and get things operational. In addition, a spouse gets the E2 as well, same designation, and the spouse can also work and get that work authorization for 2 years as well. The amount of money that has to go into an E2 company depends on the nature of the enterprise. So we had one family from Chile. They were in the wine business, and they were going to buy a vineyard in upstate New York. Well, to buy a vineyard to grow wine, they had to buy the land, the trucks, the presses, all the other things. They had to put $3 million in order to get by this enterprise and start it running properly. On the other, so that's one extreme. On the other extreme, you could be coming in as a consultant, marketing consultancy, art consultancy, or 100 other types of consultancies. And what do you need to be a consultant? You need 4 walls, a desk, and a chair, and a computer. So you can get in for very little inventory, for very little investment. And in our experience, in our office, we find that the dollar number for that kind of investment into a new U.S. enterprise starts at around $75,000 US. And if you can show you have that kind of money available to put into the project, and that you start to spend it. You have to start spending some of it on renting the office, on buying the pens and paper clips and paper for the office. They show that you're truly invested and determined to make this operation work. You can then get the E2 visa as well. There are a number of other countries, by the way, from this region of the world that have the E2 with varying amounts of time, up to 5 years, that it will be issued. Some countries that do not have it are China, India, and Russia. There's no E2 visa for those major companies, those major countries. So they're much more restricted in where they can put their money in order to get a visa to come to the U.S. But for our purposes here today, the E2 visa is a very nice option if you don't have the L1 background of already having a company in the U.S. Going back to that L1, if you have the enterprise in Ukraine, or Russia, or China, or India, anywhere else, because remember, it's not subject to the treaty, and it's an L1, and you are coming into the U.S. to open the company or to